Are you ready to experience the rich interconnection of spirituality, orientation, and identity? If so, plan to attend Liberating Your Divine Identity, a retreat at Unity Village during Pride Month, June 9th to the 12th. This soul-filled retreat is facilitated by LGBTQIA+ Unity ministers, with workshops and ceremonies to cultivate a deeper awareness of our spiritual nature. Register at unityvillage.org/I Am Divine 2022.
You're listening to Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Learn the language of spirit. This is The Intuitive Life with Laura Wooster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Intuitive Life, where we walk together and support each other on the path to becoming more spiritually aware, enlightened, and inspired. My name is Laura Wooster, and I will be taking your calls today for readings and or questions. And the number here is 816-251-3555. Again, it's 816-251-3555. And you can ask me anything you want. I have my cards here, so if you'd like a card reading, absolutely. I know if you listen to the show with Ann Hens and I, you know that we do card readings, and but I can do card readings today as well. So again, it's 816-251-3555. And a couple of housekeeping notes here. I've got some in-person events happening in the New England area for the fall and November, actually. So if you're open to being with people in public, and we try to keep it as safe as possible, masks and everything, and we're doing two events, one on November 12th, which is a fundraiser, and it's called An Evening of Mediumship and Spirit Art, and it's limited to 50 seats only, and that will be in Quincy, Massachusetts. Again, that's November 12th, and it will be with myself and Lori Sheridan and spirit artist Rita Berkowitz. And I love to do demonstrations with the spirit artists because it just adds a whole new element to the connection with spirit. Lori and I will do more of the mental mediumship where we speak the message from spirit. And Rita does that, but in addition, she will actually draw your loved one in spirit. So if you're in the Boston area, come on down November 12th and actually get your tickets beforehand because it most likely will sell out. We're about halfway sold out as far as I know. So that's Friday, November 12th in Quincy, Massachusetts at 7 p.m. And that's called Evening of Mediumship and Spirit Art. Also, I'm going to be part of a mediumship demonstration in Methuen, Massachusetts on November 18th. And that's with my dear friend and colleague, John Holland. And that, again, also is very limited. We're only going to keep it to about 80 seats, I believe, and try to keep it safe for everybody. And that's Spirit Messengers, An Evening of Mediumship on November 18th at 7 p.m. at Circles of Wisdom in Massachusetts. And you can always go to my website for all of that at laurawooster.com. And if you're a student and you're looking to develop either your intuitive awareness, your psychic awareness, or even to expand into mediumship development, I am also offering development circles in person online as well. And I'm putting workshops on the calendar very soon, either 2-hour workshops and there's possibly a day-long workshop as well in the Boston area. So if you'd like to stay in touch, just go to my website and sign up for my newsletter if you'd like to be informed about anything that might be added to the calendar. And hard to believe, we're actually looking into 2022 as well for the calendar, but just stay tuned there. So the other night, I'd like to thank, if anybody's listening from the other night, Lori Sheridan and I did a fundraiser for some veterans organizations on Saturday night. And, even though I've been doing this work for a while, I'm just amazed when, and this can go for anybody who does anything at all, where you just get yourself out of the way and let spirit talk through you. It's crazy what can happen. And I think sometimes we just let our ego, our worry, our anxiety, our concern about what people think kind of get in the way of us listening to our soul, to our intuition, or to spirit. So, so what I love about doing in-person demonstrations is that I have to get myself out of the way and I can't worry about what's going to happen. It's one of the things about mediums. We don't have scripts. We walk in the door and we don't know what we're going to say. And so it's a bit of surrender, and it takes a long time to do that. At least for me, it was as a student of mediumship. And again, this could go for anything in your life, whether you're a medium or not. Really surrendering to where your soul is leading you, to what spirit wants to say through you. It's a lot of it for me. It took a lot of courage, and it still does. I'm getting better at it, but it's putting the ego to sleep and just being fully present and with your heart and soul just tuned in. And so my topic today is some tips on how to live a soul-led life. And I know that my journey as a medium has kind of given me some insight on that. It's kind of I've kind of forced myself to do this in order to do this work, because I had to be soul-led in order to really step into this. It's not easy, especially if you've ever done anything that is a little bit out of the ordinary or out of step with maybe the world that you live in, or the people that you spend time with, or your family of origin, anything at all. It takes a lot to do this. You have to really, really dig in deep and really get to know yourself and to understand how spirit, soul, God, source, whatever you want to call it, speaks to you, so that you can get through all the chatter that's around you, what the world is trying to tell you what to do, who to be, how to dress, how to speak, what to think, what to feel. It takes a lot of courage to really dig in deep and let go of that need to follow that and to pay attention to that. And I know that I've spoken to a medium friend of mine, and I said, really, do you realize how much on the fringe we are? Because we really, we don't have a script. We don't know what we're going to say. We have to trust that spirit's going to be there to speak through us at the time that we need to. And also knowing that a lot of times people who are listening don't believe a word of it. They don't believe it can be done. They think that's, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with us. So, so living a soul-led life is not paying attention to all of that, and paying attention to what is true for you and what source, the greater all, whatever you want to call it, is leading you to, in spite of what the world is trying to tell you to do. And that's a huge gift that I've it just recently just kind of acknowledged that, 'cause I didn't really see it when you're in the process of doing this and unfolding and trying to, at least in the world that I am in and the work that I'm doing, when you're in the midst of it, it's hard to recognize that, but kind of looking back and saying, wow, it takes a lot to really dig in deep and really listen to what your soul and your intuition is trying to tell you and where it needs to go, and put everything else to sleep. So that's what I would like to talk about a little bit today before we start taking some callers. And how do you live a soul-led life? And that, part of that is going forward without worrying about what people think and what they want, how they want you to live your life. But you can also say living a soul-led life is living a spiritual life. And so I'm just going to kind of go it that way, because sometimes that people get confused with soul-led versus spiritual. I think it's the same thing. But spiritual is beyond the physical. It's everything beyond the physical, and paying attention to what's beyond the physical world, the illusions of people's expectations, the illusions of people's interpretation of what your life should be or how life should be for everybody. So how do we do that? and part of it is listening to your intuition and your gut. And when something tells you something doesn't feel right and everybody else says, no, it's perfectly fine, and you trust that. So that's part of living a soul-led or spiritual life. And this, the one thing that I will say too that has really changed my narrative over the past several years, and it was probably one of the first things that I really started to pay attention to when I started hearing spirit, because I did need to change that narrative in my own mind about expectations and what will people think, and oh my goodness, and is this real? All those things that we kind of go through when we lead a faith-based path. But one of the things I really had to start paying attention to was the words that I used, and not only the words I spoke, but the words that I spoke to myself in my own mind, and the way that I expressed myself. I really had to start paying attention to that. And one of the people who really had an influence on next, I started listening to Louise Hay and the affirmations, and I gotta be honest, when I was kind of one of those people like, yeah, it's like, how can you possibly just by changing the way that you think or changing the words that you use, how can that possibly have an effect on your life, right? So I was one of those people, but I got to a point where, I was dealing with anxiety and depression, and there was nothing left to do but to do that. It didn't take much to do it. It was a very small effort. It took a while for me to really embrace it. But once I started to embrace it, things started to change. And it took time. It actually took years of changing that narrative. And I'm in a completely different space now. I mean, it doesn't mean that doesn't come up every once in a while where I kind of beat myself up. But seriously, the words that you speak it's a vibration. It has power. And if you allow yourself to really feel the words that you speak, you'll know what's good for you to say and what's not. And some things that there's words that are thrown around in society nowadays and maybe call me too sensitive, but there's some words that are thrown around that casually that they're supposed to be fun, and on an intuitive level and vibrationally, it feels awful. And even if I know what the intention is behind it, maybe it's lighthearted, whatever. From time to time, I'll say these words myself and be like, I don't like the vibration of that word. It just doesn't feel right. Call me sensitive. But the thing is, there's a lot of words I don't use anymore. And I'm not talking about curse words. That's totally different. All right. But there's just other things that maybe that come across judgmental, or they feel judgmental, or they feel like they're singling people out for some reason. There's things like that. But I really do feel like the one thing, if you want to live more of a soul-led life, an intuitive life, more spiritual life, just pay attention to how words feel when you think them or when you say them, and trust that vibration that you feel. And choose different words. Choose a different way to speak to yourself. Choose a different way to express yourself. It has a huge amount of power, and some people might say, people will use it in the law of attraction, things like that. Yes, I can understand that and where that can come into play, but that's not really the reason why I started to change the way I spoke. I started to realize it had a huge amount of power over my own mental well-being and my spiritual well-being. So that would be like one things I would definitely focus on if you want to live a soul-led life, is pay attention to those words, and pay attention to the words that you allow to be spoken around you. If you're hearing people speaking about somebody else in a way that is really not, I don't know, you just know, and it's okay to speak up and say, maybe we can use different words for this, But there was a couple of things that I came across this week that really kind of hit home with this. And there's someone on social media that I follow, and his name is Timber Hawkeye. And every once in a while, he will share out some things that really, make me think. And and really kind of make me rethink some things that I feel to be true. And I love people that do that. They kind of challenge the way you think, right? I may not always agree, but I'm okay to be challenged. But he was relaying a story of when he was speaking with a guy, and this person said to him, I went through a messy, long, ugly divorce 20 years ago that was dramatic, traumatic, brutal, painful, soul-wrenching. And so Timber stopped this guy and he said, wait. He said, can you tell me that story again without using any adjectives? And this person replied to him, and he said, I went through a divorce 20 years ago. Boom. 20 years ago. Now, those two phrases have a huge difference in feeling and vibration. And it puts space between experiences that happened ages ago and the current experience. And there's research that, the words that we say, if it brings back a memory of trauma or something horrible that happened to us, it's like literally like experience that your body feels like it's experiencing the same thing again by using those words. So something that happened to him 20 years ago, by using those words, brought it right back in so his body could feel it again. So, but when he went to the phrase, I went through a divorce 20 years ago, totally different. Done. Period at the end of the sentence. And, then he went on to rephrase it for him as well to add more power to it rather than disempowering. And he said, how about you say, I went through an eye-opening divorce 20 years ago that taught me so much about myself, communication, intimacy, and connection, and I'm grateful. That's a hugely different narrative, and it feels very different in the body, especially if you're a very empathic person and you feel things very deeply, or words have a charge to it. That has a huge difference. And it kind of speaks to your soul more rather than the ego part of it. And we can go on what ego means and everything another time, but it does come more to the soul intuitive level and feels so different. So I would challenge you to look at some narratives that you're using on some things that maybe wasn't a good time for you in your life, maybe a challenging time, or even currently. You might be going through some challenging times, and the way you speak about it, you can actually change it. You can transform it. And I'm not saying to put glitter and rainbows on everything. That's not where I'm going here. I'm not talking about, ignoring the pain. I'm not about ignoring what needs to change. I'm not ignoring ignoring anything, the pain of other people. That's not where this is about. It's about, actually, I'm going to give you an example of this, which I think is phenomenal. But it's taking responsibility for your response to life. It's not placing blame. And I'm going to relay a story that I heard the other day, which I thought was phenomenal. It just explains this so easily. So there's a psychiatrist named Dr. Amen. I know some of you may follow his work, or you might see him on PBS. But his wife, I think before they had gotten married or met, had went to see him, and he was doing a motivational speech or something. And she was dealing with cancer and devastating depression, and as a result of the cancer, and just feeling very powerless. And so she had gone to see him speak, and he could see that she was struggling with this, and he wanted to offer some help to her. And so what he said to her was, how much responsibility are you willing to take for your situation? And she was like, whoa, wait a minute. Said, what are you, crazy? I'm going to take responsibility for being sick, for my cancer? No way. This isn't my fault. And he said, wait a minute. I'm not asking you to take the blame for your illness. It's not about blame. I'm asking you how much responsibility you want to take on. And she still didn't quite get it. She didn't understand. So he drew a circle on a board, and he put a line down the middle of the circle, and he put 100% at the bottom of the circle. And then on one half of the circle that he cut in half on the board, he put 50%, and then 50% on the other side. He said, what if you take 50% responsibility for your situation right now? So you're still a victim. That means 50% of your situation's in the hands of somebody else or other circumstances. You're still just 50% in power here. And again, she was like, but you don't understand. Why am I taking blame for my cancer? He goes, responsibility is not about blame. Responsibility is about how you respond to a situation. So I ask you again, how much responsibility are you willing to take on for your situation? And she said light dawned on her, and she was able to live life differently at that point going forward. And she got healthy, and she got emotionally and mentally healthy, and recovered from cancer from that. And not to say that that change in thinking cured her cancer, but there is a power in words. And if she was already feeling defeated and deeply depressed, it's hard for your immune system to respond in a way that's helpful. So she started taking, it's so easy to slip into victim mode. And I found myself doing that some as well. And I'm like, what am I doing? But when you're aware of it, the more you're aware of it, the less it happens. And you realize how much power you actually do have. So I would also challenge you as well. Like, where are you taking on the victim mode and trying to look at placing blame rather than taking responsibility? And it can change the whole narrative of any current situation that you're in that you find challenging. So give that a shot. Give that a try. I'd love to hear from you too, if this makes sense to you, and if you try it and and you're finding some changes, email me through my website, laurawooster.com. I'd love to hear a story. But anyhow, I do want to go to the callers in just a moment here. So you can just call me at 816-251-3555. Alrighty, so let's go to I don't see any names up here, Jeff. Okay. I'll just go to Ohio. Let me just see. Hello, Ohio. Are you there? Hello? I know I don't have your name yet. Let me put you back on hold. Okay. Hello, are you there?
Hello?
Hi.
Oh,
I am sorry.
no,
I don't have your name on the board. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. My name is Linda. Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Well, thanks for calling. What can I help you with today?
Okay, so you said we can call in with anything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, I don't get to listen to your show that often, so I just want to make sure I wasn't doing something offbeat. But
oh, no,
I have
great.
been thinking. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I've been thinking about doing an early retirement from my current job, and my income will be reduced if I live on that pension. I might have to dip into savings while I'm waiting for Social Security. And I'm scared because sometimes I think that if I leave my helping profession that I won't be helping others. And part of me thinks, well, maybe it's time to try something new and get out of my comfortable rut. And any words of wisdom would be greatly appreciated.
This is a good one. Yes. And yeah, when we start to use the word scared or fearful or anything, there's that to me, it doesn't always mean that your decision is wrong or you should go the other way or make a different decision, not necessarily, but it's more of a fear of change. That's what I found anyways. And so and we may have to go to break in just a moment. So we'll talk as much as we can. Then I might have you hang on until after the break. But so I'm pulling cards here as we talk. And you've been in this field for a while?
Yeah, 23 years in the same agency.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Alrighty. So that's what I'm seeing here is the fear of losing the connections and fear of there's the fear of letting people down. There's a fear of, or a concern. I shouldn't say fear. I should say there's concern. There's concern of letting people down. There's concern that some people might fall through the cracks because you don't care as much. I mean, you care too much, perhaps, and you're worried that other people won't care as much. Is the word I'm getting? That's what I'm trying to get to. Is that your concern right now?
In a way, I mean, but I also have a lot of fears about the effects on my own life. But yeah, I've been in helping professions most of my working life, and and now I think, okay, so what will happen? You still have to live in the world and help others and be there, and I don't even know how to find my way to help others, even if I'm not getting paid or whatever. And
yeah, there's always, and that's the thing. There's always ways to do that, and I do think there's new opportunity for you as well, and it does feel as well that it feels multi-layered actually. So there's a little bit of that, like who are you leaving behind? There's a little bit of an element of that. But for you personally, this would be a great change for you, is what I'm feeling. That it's that you can do similar work, or you can help people in a similar way, or you can help us. You can still help people in some way, but with a renewed way of doing it. And we, it's so easy to get into a rut, if you do something for so much time. But hold that thought, because I'm going to go to the break in just a moment, and I'm pulled some cards for you as well. I'm going to explore that just a wee bit. Alrighty. But so what type of work is this before we go to break?
I work with welfare clients.
Yes. Okay.
Public assistance in various ways.
Okay, great. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So we'll be back with The Intuitive Life in about 3 minutes.
Discover the power within. Unity Online Radio. The voice of an awakening world.
Welcome back to The Intuitive Life with Laura Wooster.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And I'm taking your phone calls today, 816-251-3555. But before the break, I was on the line with Linda, and she's considering retiring, and we were just looking at that. So let me bring her back on. Hello, Linda.
Hello.
Hi. So you've been doing this for 22 years, and you're just nervous about finances. You're nervous about what else? And I feel like you're going to be okay. It's like it sounds. I know this sounds weird. I don't want to take away from your concern about finances and what you're going to be doing once you retire. But I really feel okay with if you decide to retire, and I feel opportunity opening up for you as well. And I think a fresh start, a different perspective, a different way of doing, maybe not doing this work specifically after you retire, but maybe in a different way, helping people. It feels like it's like you're ready for it.
Well, I feel that way sometimes, and then something creeps in, like all the doubt, and then I get scared. And the part of me, I guess maybe when I'm not thinking about it too much, I don't know. I think this needs to be done, and everybody will call me a fool because of money and stuff like that. But there's so much more to life than money too.
100%. I totally agree. And you've been thinking about this for a little while, though, correct?
I have, yeah.
Okay. And that to me, that if it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up, that to me is your soul, your spirit talking to you and saying, there's something else out here for you, something else that you need to experience. And you can still help people, but through a different experience. And that's I think that when you start to go into the fear space of what if, that's when we stop listening to our intuition and we don't feel as comfortable. We don't feel comfortable in our skin at that point. Um, but when you imagine, let's just say, so you have to go through a process, obviously, to retire. You could do paperwork and everything, right?
Yes.
So if you imagine yourself turning that paperwork in, how does that feel to you?
Oh, fluttery.
It feels what?
Like a little, like, get kind of fluttery, like,
Fluttery? Yeah.
excited, but still like, oh, I wonder what's waiting now, because it's a commitment and something new is going to happen.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Isn't that exciting? I think it's great. Like there's this great unknown. You don't know what's next, right? But isn't that
Right.
exciting? Isn't that what life is about sometimes?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
When I let it be.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so I can't, I never tell anybody what to do. I try not to anyways, at least I try not to. But my sense is that, if you've been thinking about it for a while and you get a little bit excited about it, even though a little nervous because you don't know what's next, but more excited than anything else, but by the thought of making that change, I think that's a big yes.
Mm.
And I'm pulling cards here too, and I see new opportunity for you, um, a different opportunity. There's more, um, it's there's reaching different people, but still helping people. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's plenty of work out there too. If you really, really, really need to go back to work, there's plenty of jobs out there. There's no worries about that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's not some finance, so money's not an issue here. It's more of what's next. And um, so are you thinking about maybe doing this in the next 6 to 7 months, perhaps?
Yeah, I picked November 11th as my day when I really needed to make a decision and pick a date and if I was going to do this. And so, yeah, it's been a few months that I have had this on my mind.
Good. Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, are you able to financially take a few months off and just be?
Mm, I'm willing to give it a try. I mean, things would be tight, but again,
Uh,
money or time, you can't always have both, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I'm just feeling the need to really like see, just kind of feel where you want to be. And you can't really do that if even if you take a few weeks off just to say, where do I feel drawn to? What do I want to try now? What do I want to do differently? I don't always try to put a dollar amount to it. I think that's
Right.
that's where our fear takes us is like, well, if I am really interested in X, Y, and Z, but I can't possibly make a living at that. That's always the thing that comes up after, right? Or
Yeah.
I can't imagine how I would do that. Um, I would give yourself some time, even if between now and November 11th, to just take some time to think, okay, well, if money was no object, what would I be doing? And you might be surprised that there's elements of that you can incorporate into a job somewhere. You can find that element in a job that works for you, or you just find something that pays the bills, but then you spend the rest of your time doing something
Yeah.
that you really enjoy. I feel like this is going to free up some space in your mind by considering making this change to really find what
Yeah.
what calls to you.
Thank you, Laura, so very much for taking your time. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. I hope this helps in some way.
Yes, it's very helpful, and I will ponder it for certain.
Good.
And
Wonderful.
I wish you a
Okay.
good day.
All right. Thank you, Linda. All right. Take care. All righty. I know it's so hard sometimes but I'm just going to speak from my own experience is that when I've thought about making a change but I get a little anxiety like, oh my goodness, because I don't like change myself, but I'll go to what ifs. But if I still imagine myself doing that decision or making that decision, and I get that feeling of excitement and kind of fluttery, like Linda mentioned, and it really I've found all along that the universe will provide, and again, I don't mean to make light of this by saying, oh, the universe will provide, but there's just something about that. I just know there's a sense of knowing that things are going to be okay. And if financially, if things don't work out, there's always another job, right? So even short term, just to fill in the blanks until you find what you want. So I've always find that there's ways to get through that. So let's go to my next caller, and let me see. Let's go to Grace. Hi, Grace.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for
Hi.
calling. What can I
Thank you
help
for
you with
calling.
today?
Yeah. Thanks for being here on this holiday. I would like to ask you a question related to, well, maybe we could look at what's important for me to look at right now, or I'm thinking of maybe we could look at this one. I'm working currently. I've been 4 years in this company, and there are some changes here. I submitted a medical request, and they denied it, and I have to make a decision whether to stay here or leave. I would like to know what the universe or
Okay. All right.
what would be the most.
Okay. So staying or leaving. Okay. So let's look at that. Okay. So it's weird. It's like I don't see you leaving yet. So you've got some time before you need to make this decision, right?
Yeah, I think what's happening is I have time until like the beginning of November, and then I'll have to not be here until December, but they'll still give me my benefits until December.
Oh, okay. So that's
But
not
after
bad.
that, I'm on my own.
Oh, okay. So that's not too bad. Okay. So I'm looking at these two different scenarios here, and staying and leaving.
Yeah.
And again, I always say I'll never tell you what to do, but by staying here, there's there are some challenges. I will say there's some tension and
Yeah.
challenge is what I'm feeling, and I think
Yeah.
that will carry on a little bit, even for the time being that you're there. All right. And
Okay.
but what it invites in is new opportunity, which is great, but it feels like outside the company. All right.
Yeah.
So you could stay, but it just feels like the tension grows. All right. So it would just be managing. How do you manage that tension? How do So I just I think at this point that's what I'm seeing. You would just have to find a way to manage that. But if you were to look something outside, I pulled cards for that. And I feel it's so weird. Like always pay attention to your body, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same thing that I did with Linda. Like imagine if you stay, and what does that feel like in your body? Like your solar plexus. How does that feel? Don't think about it too much. Do you still there?
Yeah. I guess it feels like
Hmm.
same old, and
Yeah.
how they treated me hasn't been very, very good. So why
Okay.
would I want to
Okay.
serve a place that's not serving in any way my
Hmm.
needs,
Right. Yeah. So
making me feel like a not important, not valued.
mm, okay. So that's some powerful stuff coming up there. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
I
so
could work through that. I could work through that. That's my interpretation, and
right.
has nothing to do with them, and that's
Hmm.
not about me. I could work through that. Yeah, I
Hmm.
could.
Yeah. But
Because
I
in
would.
the end, I'm participating in it if I stay.
Yes. Yes. And there's a likelihood here that you would feel like you're always having to fight for validation that you're doing a good job. That,
No, not that. Not
mhm.
yeah, no. That I need
Yeah.
to definitely give up. Like that people pleasing thing, like
Yeah.
I'm doing a
Hmm.
good job and look at me.
Hmm.
Like that definitely needs to end right here and now. Like I
Okay.
don't
Good.
need to do that. And
Excellent.
so I exactly like that has to end today. Like that's it.
Hmm.
So now it's about, whoa, wait a minute. Like, do I let all of this go and start somewhere else or
Hmm. Yeah. And
somewhere
again,
better? Yeah.
I can't tell you what to do, but I just get that sense that there's a couple of elements here of tension with with the company, and that you do kind of have to. There's a sense of having to fight for validation that of what you bring to the table. That's what it feels like. And I know you're aware of it, so that's good. But it feels like it's going to
cares
continue.
about validating anybody here. Nobody cares about that. Like everybody just wants you to do your job and not do anything else. That's it.
Yeah.
Just do your job. There's no validation. There's no
right.
credits, anything. Just do your job.
Yeah. And if that's important to you, or if you're feeling that, it's
No, it's not important to me. Okay. I like this.
Oh, good. Okay. So that part you don't mind. All right.
No, I don't. I don't need to be validated. Yeah, I don't.
Good. Excellent. All right. Because I was going to say, if you're looking for it, you're not getting it. So that's,
and I think there's a good reason why I'm not getting it. It's like there's a good reason for it.
Okay.
So I'm okay with it. Okay with that lesson.
Okay. So now looking at going outside the company and finding another job, I got to say I feel this being because you're in management of some kind, correct? Because I feel like you're in management, or you have the potential.
I don't know what to call it right now. I've changed to several times positions here. Okay.
Because what I'm seeing here is there's a potential here outside the company of being in charge and being in management. Okay. And if that's something you want to do, that's
there's an opening coming up and something. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I mean,
the only thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and there's no guarantees of anything, right? But what I'm seeing around this is just the mental energy around this, meaning like, is this the right thing to do? But other than that, I'm seeing clear sailing with other opportunities outside this company if you choose to look at other opportunities. I see. Yeah. So it's almost like it feels like unfounded fear to me is what it feels like. So what that means to me is like you'll go out and you'll maybe find out other opportunities, and then when you look back, you say, "Oh, I wonder why it took me so long to make that decision." That's what I kind of see with you. So I know you have it's something you definitely have to bring consideration into because it is your job and everything. But I think you're putting too much weight on this, and if you're feeling the need to look at other opportunities, know that they're there, and it feels like multiple opportunities actually. Will they all be available at the same time? I don't think so. You might have something maybe in the next month or two, and then something else maybe, let me see, July, September, maybe early spring. There might be another opportunity that seems even better. So I wouldn't get too attached to anything that you go to next. But just know that I feel like you're finding a new position and new opportunities, but also exploring at the same time. So I wouldn't get too attached to anything that you end up going to, and just knowing that, if it doesn't work out, I go somewhere else. And just, but there's multiple opportunities, but just not at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure if I want that or just stay here.
Yeah. What's holding you there, though?
Yeah, I'm comfortable in my office. I have my service dog, and it's like a convenient comfort.
Yeah. And you can't have that elsewhere?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. That's it. I probably can, maybe not, and I'll deal with it then.
But what's making you question staying, though, if you're comfortable?
Oh, I took one of the vaccines, and I had very bad side effects, and I still do.
Okay.
So I can't take the second dose of that same vaccine. So now I'm thinking maybe I should take another dose of another vaccine to stay here, because the medical exemption was denied, even though it said I was working through health issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's a matter of they either. Yeah, you either comply or you move on. Is what
I'm like. If I get this other dose of vaccine, is that going to affect me too? Like, I'm terrified.
Yeah, I can't address that that piece because I don't do
Well,
health.
that's why I didn't talk about that. You
Yeah,
asked
good.
specifically.
Oh yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
No.
Yes, yeah, that's all. I just want to let you know. Yeah, so just looking at the situation in general, I
Yeah.
feel like you could stay, and you'd be okay for the time being, but there's more opportunities out there, and my sense is, as well, is that your comfort level, once you embrace the change and kind of get used to the new place, if you decide to go somewhere else, I feel really comfortable with that. Um, it would be a minor inconvenience, like a short-term inconvenience, perhaps. Um,
Yeah.
but knowing that you'll also have an office that you could feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
Just, 'cause I
Exactly.
see that, and also, if yeah, and there may even be more money there for you. So
Yes.
I would look for other opportunities, and just knowing it'll be a minor inconvenience, a
Yeah.
little bit unnerving because you change of space, but I feel really good actually. So I wouldn't worry too much, and just start looking for opportunities. And like I said, I think you could have one within a month or two at the most. There'd be a first opportunity and
Yeah.
possibly a second one in the spring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope
Yeah.
that
Thank
helps.
you. Thank you.
You're
Yes.
very welcome, Grace. All right. You take care. There we go. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? Oh my gosh. But that's, a lot of times what I do when people are really stuck and they they start to hide behind the fear of making a change, because I know I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't like change. I like my comfort. I'm a Cancerian. If once I find my home, this is where I want to be, right? So, I'm kind of the same way. But when things start to get uncomfortable, when circumstances change, sometimes there's a time when we need to address, do we stay and fight for validation of your own feelings and what is important to you, whether it be, if you're feeling like your health is at risk, or whatever that is, because that's something I did mention with Grace. Whatever that might be, whatever you feel like you need to fight for, is it worth it? Life is short, and it's like there's other opportunities, and it's so rare that I see that I connect with people who are looking in similar situations. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I go here? Do I go there? Where they really have no other options. That when they actually embrace the idea that possibly there are other options, and it's okay and it's safe to look, and they kind of look behind the curtain and say, okay, is there something else there? This could be exciting. And embrace that a little bit, and then kind of let go of the edge of the pool, and start swimming. And most of the time, people find that they end up either in a better place, or they're in another place temporarily that takes them somewhere else. And it's rare that I've had anybody come back and say, that was the worst thing I ever did, was quitting that job. I can't tell you. I really can't even imagine that. I can't even, nothing comes to mind if someone were to press me for a situation where people said, I wish I never left my job, after asking me, should I leave my job? Um, if it's something that's kind of been haunting you for a while, you've been thinking about it, the what ifs have haunted you. Um, it and not to say that, just not, if anybody's thinking about quitting their job, don't go out and quit your job until you get your next one. But I would if you can get beyond the uncomfortableness, then it's amazing the opportunities that will appear, or they'll become visible to you. Maybe you wouldn't see them before. And if it's something that's sort of been in the back of your mind for a long time, months, maybe even years, it's time to explore it, even temporarily. Maybe if you're thinking about going to a completely new career, find a way to incorporate that into your life now, while you still have a job that pays the bills. Find a way to um, experience it, try it on for size. Um, if you're thinking about, I don't know, going into, you've been an artist, but you haven't really been able to explore that very much. Can you volunteer at a local museum, for, a couple hours on the weekend or something, just to get into the elements. Not to say that that's what you want to do, but get into the space of what calls you and try it on. Maybe you want to become a vet. You've been dreaming about being a vet. Go and volunteer at an animal shelter. And of course, you're not doing the thing necessarily that you're hoping to do, but it can really solidify in your mind. Is this where you really want to spend a good amount of your time with? And our time is precious. Our hours are precious. Our efforts are precious. What do you want to spend your time on? Where do you want to live your life? Where do you feel like you're living life more fully? And oftentimes we will not choose that because we feel we're letting people down. Or maybe you work in a field where you're helping people, but you feel like you might be abandoning people by doing that in some way. Maybe there's other people, you don't feel other people there are capable as you. There might be something like that. I've heard that from so many people who work in healthcare or things like that. But what it comes down to is what's healthy for you. Where can you thrive so you can be fully present for the people that you're serving? And that might mean a change of scenery, a change of venue, maybe doing the same job at a different place. You just never know you might find that the things that really call you, you might say, well, it's too selfish. I can't believe I'm even thinking about doing that. That's just more for me, right? And people say, that's just more for me. I don't want to be selfish like that. But I have seen so many people who follow the things that really makes their soul sing and thinking that they're doing it for themselves. But along the way, they use it as a vehicle to change other people's lives. The thing is, you don't know what's possible until you follow what your soul is calling you to do. And once you experience that, you just know your doors will open, opportunities will open. You'll be in that environment. If say you decide to try something, maybe like I used earlier about being the artist and going to volunteer at a local museum or something. And you just get into that space and you just know, it's like there's something here for me and I just don't know what it is, but I'm ready to explore. Open that door. Life is short. And there's a reason why your soul is calling you to try these things or exploring these things. And you may not know exactly what that is just yet or how that's going to be expressed in whatever way. But open that door a little bit and just start taking some small steps. And then the universe will show you some ways, and it might open doors you never thought would open for you, and you end up helping people in ways and affecting the world in ways that you wouldn't have been able to before you took this big leap. And again, when I say big leap, it doesn't have to be like quitting your job and doing something, but taking a leap of faith is what I'm saying, and trying something new, even if it's short term. It can change the world. And so often people, like they stay where they feel safe and comfortable. But that's not what growth is all about. And it's so rare that, like I said, it's rare that I've heard people take that leap and then regret it. Either they learn something from it or they learn where they don't want to be, but it's a movement forward. So I welcome you to start listening to your soul. And I'd love to hear from you. You can always go to my website, laurawooster.com, if you have any comments. But have a great week, everybody. I will be back in 2 weeks on The Intuitive Life.
Thank you for listening to Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Are you ready to experience the rich interconnection of spirituality, orientation, and identity? If so, plan to attend Liberating Your Divine Identity, a retreat at Unity Village during Pride Month, June 9th to the 12th. This soul-filled retreat is facilitated by LGBTQIA+ Unity ministers, with workshops and ceremonies to cultivate a deeper awareness of our spiritual nature. Register at unityvillage.org/I Am Divine 2022.